We love hip
So
hop.
this gentleman here, Umar Zamir, he was acquitted of charges in after the death of a Toronto police officer. Okay, it's getting a lot of mixed reviews. Obviously, they put the Toronto police officer to rest. But you know, when his family came to speak, I seen it on the news the other day. When his family was speaking out about it, obviously they were pretty upset with the loss of their loved one, of their husband, of father. But from what I've been hearing about this, I haven't been really deep diving into it, and we'll maybe do the deep dive now. These gentlemen, or the police officers, when they approached him, he wasn't aware that they were police officers. Okay, he was protecting himself. But let's go over this.
Thank you.
Because apparently now he's done an interview.
And who was acquitted in the death of a Toronto police officer is sharing the emotional and financial burden he has experienced after nearly 3 years of waiting to clear his name. He spoke to CTV's John Woodward on the same day Toronto's top cop clarified his comments on the case.
That night was a nightmare for us.
A nightmare finally over. The relief written on the faces of Umar Zamir and his wife, Ida Sheikh. The threat of life in prison no longer hanging over his head.
We are so blessed.
I wonder who represented him.
But we hoped for this day, but we were scared that it would never come.
The last 3 years have taken a toll. Police charged him with first-degree murder. He was branded a cop killer, with top political figures, including Ontario's premier, expressing outrage he had been released on bail. After 3 months in custody, he missed the birth of his second child.
It happened. It's a very sad, tragic accident. I just wish it didn't happen.
But the evidence at trial was a very different story. Zamir was downtown for Canada Day with his pregnant wife and young son. He testified plainclothes officers didn't identify themselves as police, and in a panic he fled, not realizing he had struck and killed Officer Jeffrey Northrup. Video evidence would contradict the testimony of several officers. The trial judge, Anne Malloy, apologized to Zamir for all he had been through. Toronto's police chief announcing 2 reviews, one by the OPP of officer testimony.
Hold on, let's go back a bit. So there's the body cam here
today with his pregnant wife.
So this is him and his wife. This guy don't look like no gangbanger. They had the wrong guy.
Wife and young son. He testified plainclothes officers didn't identify themselves as police, and in a panic he fled, not
Jeez, the man must have thought that he was being approached by some crazy thugs. Because look at this guy. Look how diesel this nigga is. Pause. No Diddy. Right? Like, these motherfuckers are coming at you. Like, yo.
And in a panic, he fled, not realizing he had struck and killed Officer Jeffrey Northrup.
God damn.
Video evidence would contradict the testimony of several officers. The trial judge, Anne Malloy, apologized to Zamir for all he had been through.
So you see where these officers messed up? Is they lied. Okay? I don't know if the truth would have been able to set them free anyway, but they lied. Okay? They switched their story around, and, you know, they were able to look at the videotape and see that that story isn't how it happened.
True. Toronto's police chief announcing 2 reviews, one by the OPP of officer testimony and another of plainclothes procedures, and walking back his comments that he hoped for a different outcome.
Is that I accept the jury's findings, and we are an organization that's grieving and trying to work through finding some path towards closure.
Ontario's premier offered an excuse for his earlier comments, saying, "At the time, I had limited information. The courts have decided, the jury decided, and..."
They were going in on homie when that first happened. You know what I'm saying? Calling them all kind of murderers and shit.
You have to respect the justice system. Zamir has said it's premature to think of a lawsuit against the police or the Crown, saying he prefers to spend his first days as a free man with his kids. But questions remain about how this prosecution...
I gotta start a new poll on this one right here. Jesus Christ, bro. That's how they dealt with you, fam. Let me kill this poll right here. Actually, bad choice of words. Let me finish this poll right here. Were y'all feeling tailor-made? 53% says yes, 47% says no. All right, let's get rid of that. What I want to know is, should he sue? Should Zamir, I'm probably spelling his name right, sue? All caps. Mad question marks. Okay. Should he sue the Toronto police? Because, bro, I know a man's life was lost. Okay, RIP. If we're going to do that, okay, because no matter what, a human being's life is lost, police or not. Okay. But when it comes to that, they didn't approach homie and let him know that they were police officers. Man's with his family. Okay. From what y'all can see right here.
But the evidence at trial was a very different story. Zamir.
Right. Man's here with his family. I know gangbangers come in all shapes and sizes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? He could have been the leader of some kind of Bindi gang. Who knows? Right? Who they thought this guy was. But
with his pregnant wife and young son.
This right here, is you seeing this coming at you? Crazy. Let me see if I can find some more stuff on this. Umar Zamir. Yeah, I did spell his name super wrong. My bad, sir. But yo, people get it in the chat. Body cam. Let's see if we can find a body cam. Let's see if that body cam video is available. I'm going to do 2 searches. I'm going to search Reddit too. Okay, they're pulling up the video that we just watched. Okay, what's this? Eesh, it might be viewer discretion type shit.
And a warning to our viewers that the images in this next story might be upsetting to some. The trial of Umar Zamir, the man charged in the death of police constable Jeffrey Northrup, continues today. And it follows a dramatic opening to the case yesterday that included gripping video and 2 very different versions of events. So you're looking at security video presented in court yesterday showing a vehicle driven by Zamir reversing and then driving forward. Court heard this was the moment Constable Northrup was struck and run over. Northrup's partner can be seen attending to him.
That's crazy. So he reversed and hit the police. So it wasn't, they had to let this nigga go, of course. But after spending months in jail, the thing is with the system, no matter what, it's going to take long. But when they got the wrong guy, they got the wrong guy. Okay? When somebody's life is lost, though, they got to detain somebody, right? How long did it take them to get to the tape?
Away, the 2 plainclothes officers were investigating a report of a stabbing in the area. The defense argues Northrup's death was a tragic.
This is the stupid shit. The reporting of a stabbing in the area. Can we go back? Report of a stabbing in the area. Remember what we were just looking at over here, gang?
A police officer is sharing the emotional and financial burden he has experienced.
Right here.
It happened. It's
right here. Stabbing in the area. These people right here. You know, there's reports of a stabbing in the area. So we're going to approach these people right here. Something ain't right, man. Yeesh. Something is not right. The math ain't mathin', fam. I would have rather than these guys be doing an investigation on some kind of drug kingpin or something. Okay? Because at least that might fit the profile a little bit more. You know, the gang leader might be walking with his family, with his wife and his kids. just trying to, be a normal individual, might be a normal citizen, trying to fit in a little bit more, right? Rather than there's a stabbing in the area. So not only that these guys got harassed, racially profiled. Like, God damn. And he had to go to jail for the shit. So let me ask you guys again. Let me see what the poll is saying in regards to whether this man should be suing. Jeez, 100% says yes. He should sue. Yeah. Listen, man. Salute to this gentleman right here. Is this more proof that when it comes to the Toronto police, not only do they not always get it right, a lot of times these guys try to do some shifty shit in the end of the day to try to get away from some of their stuff. Okay? Because they clearly did something wrong by approaching this gentleman, and then they try to switch the story when one of their own got whacked by accident.
By a jury on Sunday in Toronto has led to a man being found not guilty in the death of a police officer. After arrival to Canada, not guilty of first-degree murder or manslaughter after hitting and killing the police officers. That's because the whole thing happened in an underground parkade after midnight and just under Toronto's City Hall, just after Canada Day back in 2021. The officers were there as part of an undercover operation. They were not wearing their uniforms. And Zamir, with his pregnant wife beside him in the car and their baby, the officers came up to the car, began banging on the windows. Zamir said he thought they were being robbed. He hit reverse and ended up hitting the officer. Listen to this.
Our members, both sworn and civilian, in the Toronto police family are still devastated by the tragic and sudden loss of their friend and colleague.
Perjury from his officers, that the police officers who won't comment on allegations of perjury from his officers, that the police officers may have lied in court, as questions remain around their testimonies. 3 police witnesses said that Jeffrey Northrup was standing with his hands raised in front of him when the car went backwards. That's something that 2 crash reconstruction experts could not confirm.
This is what I wanted to find out.
That's something that 2 crash reconstruction
right here.
Testimonies. 3 police witnesses said that Jeffrey Northrup was standing with his hands raised in front of him when the car went backwards. That's something that.
So they're saying that the cop was standing behind homie, like, no. And he still ran over them. So what? Hold on, let me add AGB. AGB!
What up, big dog?
What are you saying, brother?
I'm chilling, bro. It's a crazy story, eh?
Yeah, fam. They got this guy over here. He had to do time.
Oh, I know the whole story. You don't gotta update me. I already been paying attention.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro. The one thing I'll say is, first of all, one of the things in Quebec that I've always found crazy is none of the police here have body cams. I know in this situation it was plainclothes officers, so it was a bit different. But in Toronto, like your regular cops, most of them have body cams, right?
Well, there was body cam footage, even though they were plainclothes on this.
Okay, because like I know in Quebec, bro, I'll just give you an example. Like you'll get beat up by the police, and then in the report, like you'll be the one who assaulted them.
He lunged at me.
Like, yeah, like I've seen it, bro. Like someone will say something to them and the cops here know they're going to get away with it. And they'll beat the crap out of someone and then be like, yeah, he was handcuffed behind his back with 8 of us there. He lunged at me and we needed to pepper spray him and tase him 7 times and then hit him with the billy club and stuff. So, like, they always are going to try and protect themselves, right? And, like, also, too, like, my grandfather was a cop. And, like, I have a lot of it, like, he did a lot of piece of shit racist stuff as a cop that I'm like not too cool with, right? And like, so like I know, like other people can say like, oh, they've had it with experience. Like I know a cop who's told me, like he's not alive anymore, but like he stopped being racist as he got older and he started like traveling and stuff.
And
he told me about some of the stuff that he did. And he's like, it's still just as bad.
He evolved, man. But at one point he was probably putting some night, RIP to your granddad, but he was probably giving some nightsticks to some guy's ribs.
Oh, yeah, for sure, bro. Like, right. So like him and like my mom and like her sisters and stuff grew up in the hood, right? And I remember one of my mom's older sisters came home with a black boyfriend, and he had like a huge issue. And I remember my mom told me, he's like, what he told my sister was he's never met a black person in any situation other than arresting them. And it's like, well, bro, like just hearing from that, I'm like, bro, I know how racist you were acting until you started actually meeting people and like, like breaking down the stereotypes. So it's like, there's a lot of like racism with cops, but they'll always protect themselves. They'll lie. They'll do whatever to protect themselves, especially when one of them gets hurt, like in this situation, or even worse, killed. Like, they're going to do anything to get you. They want someone to blame. They want someone for the family to say, oh, we got this guy. That's like what their mentality is. Wasn't
it the blue wall of silence?
It's even more than that. Like, in this case, it's not even like the wall of silence. It's like, we need somebody to blame. Like, it can't just be a mistake. Like, it can't just be an accident. Someone has to be responsible.
Yeah, somebody got to get it.
That's the problem.
So I'm asking the people in the comments also, should he sue?
Yeah.
Right. 91% says yes, and 9% says no.
Well, here's the thing that sucks, right? Because it's all people who are paid by our tax dollars who have made all these mistakes. It's me and you who pay if he sue. Well, I don't live in Ontario, but it's citizens of Ontario who are paying if he sues. So I'm not saying he shouldn't sue. He definitely should. Like, Doug Ford is going to have to settle with them outside of court. Those comments were crazy. And like, to come in, and especially to come in after and say, whoa, I made those comments without all the knowledge. It's like, bro, you're a public official. You don't get to come and make comments about somebody and disparage their lives in front of that many people and not have the right facts. Like, it's, so he has a perfect case. He should definitely be suing. And not only that, like, more than suing for money, he could actually go after them and make them like change some things. Because if he doesn't push for it, none of those officers are going to get in trouble. They're all going to get a slap on the wrist. But if he goes to court and he pushes in the civil suit saying, no, I want them held accountable. Like, I care about the money, but I want them held accountable first. He can make things happen.
The thing is, I feel like he's going to do it. But why he's being apprehensive is he doesn't want the issues that are going to pop off after. Like, he already got ran up on wrongfully while he's in a parking lot, him and his family. So he's probably scared of the police now.
Yeah.
Right?
What he needs to do, what I would suggest for him is to, like, part of the reason he needs to go after them too is to protect himself, right? Like, you see how like Rebel News gets ran up on crazy all the time? Well, the way they make that stop is they just actually sue the police organizations. And then what happens is the whole police organization has to issue an apology. And then for basically the rest of the lifetime, if that police organization does anything to you, you're going to pull up that apology in court and say, look, they already had to apologize to me for a history of, doing stuff they weren't supposed to. So you pretty much got them in a headlock from then on.
Granted. However, when it comes to Rebel News, we're not going to act like they're not completely targeted by the police on a regular basis, especially homie with the hat there. I forget his name, but the main interviewer guy that is on the streets.
Yeah.
He got arrested like 4 times in like 2 months because at this point they don't like them. So like they're targeting these guys.
They will 100%. And if you go and do something illegal in front of them and you're a target, you have more of a chance of getting in trouble than anyone else. But at the same time, it's like, you can't be afraid of being a target by the police. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you've done nothing wrong. You need to just stand up and do the right thing. When you be afraid of being the target, that's when they have the power, because they can intimidate you. They can go and make cops drive by your house a couple times extra during the day. Do those little tactics that they do, that they sort of sit in that gray area where they can't really get in trouble, but it's not okay, right? Like they'll pull you over extra and stuff like that. But if you sue them for that stuff and they have a history of it, anytime they do that in the future is just giving you more ammo for a lawsuit, basically making them you know, more accountable. The problem in Canada is you can't really sue a cop personally. You can more sue the police department.
The police department. Like, I've been in a situation where I had grounds to sue Canada Service, Correction Services Canada, right? Or I don't even know who I would sue. So I'll give you a quick situation, right? When I came home from parole back in 2011, about 3 months later, I got sent back home. Sent back away. Okay.
Yeah, I remember the story from the interview, right? Like on some like crazy, like stupid shit, right?
Yeah, I was accused of selling a gun to another parolee. They said that my picture was pointed out in a in a police lineup of pictures, basically. Okay. And took 3 months and change of my life away. Boom, just like that. No problem. Okay. So that I can like figure this shit out. I even had to pay for a lawyer, a parole lawyer, to help me when I go back in front of the parole board. So it cost money out of my pocket of somebody who just was not even home from jail completely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was still trying to get back on my feet. Right. So obviously when I went in front of the parole board, they let me go just like that. You know what I mean? They ripped apart the whole case of the lead parole officer, the head parole officer at the parole office that I was dealing with. They ripped that case apart. They asked this guy so many questions. They made him look stupid in the conference call.
Yeah.
Right. So it was clearly you have the wrong guy, to the point where like the parole board said you might have the wrong guy. Yeah. So I had grounds even when I was on the way back home, and I jumped in the cab after I got off the bus from Kingston. And I told the cab driver the same story. He was like, you should sue. You should sue. But the whole thing that started going through my mind is if I sue these guys, I'll never be able to drive without getting pulled over and something happening, especially if I try to do something, quote unquote,
if you're gonna go after
potentially
like
legal.
That, you usually want to leave the city. But here's the thing, like you could do, which is what a lot of people don't think of, right? Your parole officer has a boss that they answer to that doesn't directly know about everything like that happens. If you show up at that boss's office with a paper saying, hey, this is what happened with your parole officer. I have this here in writing. The judge or the people said X, Y, and Z. I'm considering suing, but I'd be happy if you just took care of the problem and disciplined them. 8 times out of 10, that's going to work, especially if you're going to go threaten on top of that you're going to make a human rights complaint, which you could have done. Like you could have dragged them through court. Like what they see is dollars, right? So the way to leverage something like that isn't always to actually make the complaint. It's to go to their boss and say, hey, what's more valuable to you, spending the next couple of years in court with me and maybe winning or maybe losing, but definitely spending this much money, or just taking care of this employee that you probably already don't like?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the problem is with the system is people like they have a good way of hiding things and holding themselves from accountability. But like people need to follow up with stuff, bro. Like, listen, I have a criminal record for going after the MP where I live. I have several human rights complaints. Like, if you're a politician and I try and interact with you and you do anything I don't like, I'm gonna ruin your life. I'm gonna make complaints.
You're on their ass.
I'm gonna do everything because when you're a politician, every second of when you're talking to me is time that I paid for you to talk to me. You understand? Like a politician's job isn't to boss people around. It's for people to give them input and for them to take it to higher levels of government, right?
True.
So it's like, you know, stuff like that. People just got to follow up, you know, calling your mayor. Like mayors hate when you call them, bro. You want something to get done with the police, call your city councilor and call your mayor because they control the budgets for the police. And believe me, they don't like it when people call with a complaint. If you're calling for something good, they'll answer, but they don't like when people call with a complaint, especially when a bunch of people do it. You'll get their wheels moving because you're going to force them to work. And if they don't work, what you do is you just go put that out at the next election and they won't get elected and they'll lose that job.
We might have to get you into some politics later on in the future.
I mean, I am for sure. Look, anyone, if your city councilor is not doing a good job, the average city councilor gets like 200 votes max. Okay. They usually run unopposed. It's a part-time job and it pays 40 grand a year. You might have to do a couple things a month. Anyone who's interested, if you want to go do a good job and actually do some stuff for your community, you can get a part-time job, get paid 40 grand a year.
Part-time.
You know, a lot. Yeah, it's part-time.
Not bad.
Being a city councilor is like absolutely nothing of a job, bro.
Can you be a city councilor with a criminal record?
Yeah. It's an elected position. If you're elected, you're elected.
See, some game for y'all.
And that's the same with any elected position. It doesn't matter what your criminal charges are. It's the power of the people to put you in. So obviously, if you have some crazy charges, they might bring it up, but they can't like say, "Oh, you can't run." If you get enough people behind you, you can run.
I'm gonna play this here from Kim Schofield. She's a pretty popular Toronto lawyer.
She was top 5 lawyer at one point too, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was actually.
There's some drama there, right?
I don't know. I don't remember exactly why she didn't want to take on that case anymore, but she's going to break down here she questions some of the tactics about the plainclothes officers.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring in Kim Schofield. She's a criminal defense lawyer. Hey, Kim, thanks for your time today, as always.
Her hair is always crazy.
Yes, thanks, Todd.
All right, so we have the verdict. Not a big surprise. This is what a lot of people thought might happen, given some of the circumstances here. Can I get your thoughts, and also just specifically around this issue of the testimony of those 3 police officers, and a lot of questions there.
Okay, so remember this case began with Mr. Zamir being charged and then, of course, applying for bail and being granted bail. And there was a lot of attention in the media about and comments from politicians about the travesty of him having received bail and calling into question the decision of the judge. So we have all of this background, and then there's a publication ban. And then fast forward, we have the trial. And we have the witnesses, the police officers who were present, testifying to a version of events that could not have happened. And it could not have happened even on the Crown's own evidence from the reconstruction experts, the accident reconstruction experts. But what Justice Malloy was asking the Crown about, and what the defense really was focused on, is in eyewitness cases, we often have inaccurate accounts. But if you have inaccurate accounts that are all the same, it calls into question about whether there's collusion. Now,
you hear that right there?
Yeah, there's definitely collusion in this case.
No, but like, it's one thing for like a bunch of people to get something wrong, and they all get something different wrong. But all these
thing to all like have the same thing wrong. Well, that's always what it is with cops, bro. It's rare that you're gonna see like when there's a lie from one of them, it's usually backed up by all of them. It's rare that you're gonna see one cop lying and the rest of them are like, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah, but like it's one thing to be backing up a lie, but it's one thing if everybody found out that it's a lie and everybody's all about, you know, he was over here, but he was actually over here, and everybody says the exact same lie.
Well, it shows the lack of like police need to be held to a higher standard. They need to hold themselves to a higher standard. Like, and when police go and wonder why like the community hates them, and then things like crazy things like defund the police come out, it's stuff like this. Because it's like in a situation like this, you would expect the cops to hold themselves to a higher standard. And even when they're caught red-handed, when it's on video, like imagine if this wasn't on video for starters.
Yeah.
But when it's caught red-handed and it's on video, and they're like, oh, well, we're just gonna triple down on lying.
And they all, when they reconstructed it, they all made the same mistake.
Exactly. How many people did this exactly happen to, and it's not on video, and they're in jail right now?
Or doesn't have enough money to get the legal counsel to fight to get them free. They just end up having to eat a charge, and it wasn't their fault.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, either legal counsel, like I said, I think video is the biggest one, because even with good legal counsel, you take the video away. It's like 5 cops' word against this one guy. Who are they going to believe? They're going to believe the cops every single time.
Yeah, if you have a dump truck, that video don't mean shit.
In a case like this, collusion isn't necessarily all of the officers getting together to get their story straight. But sometimes collusion can happen in a way that may not necessarily be intentional. In other words, it's a stressful situation. The officers are talking about the death of their friend, their colleague. It's a traumatic event. So there may have been collusion, and the question is really whether this was an attempt to obstruct the process, an attempt to lie to the court, or whether.
You know what's crazy about that? Like when they arrested him after, he was probably like so confused. Like, you guys are police. What are you doing here? Like, what?
Bro, I could promise you, like, okay, so like I don't claim to be some huge criminal, but I've been like cuffed and arrested many times, especially when I was younger, right? I don't have some huge rap sheet though. So, but I've always been like cool with it. If you arrested me for something like this, you better bring the whole force to arrest me, because I'm fighting all of you. Like, you're gonna have to
get beat up, bro. But
like, it's gonna be the biggest. Like, if I legit, like, every time I've ever been arrested, it's like, all right, like, you found this, or like it was, you know, something. If I actually got arrested for something like this, clearly where like I might lose my life and you're trying to pull this, like, there's like, yo, there's gonna be a scene every day. You're gonna have to be keeping me in the hole. Like, I would be going crazy, bro. And not even off like trying to act like hard, like just like the mental place I would be in and how messed up I would be, especially being like away from my kids, bro. Like, and not being able to be there when my kid was born, bro. Like,
and you're not even you're not even doing nothing. You're literally just coming from dinner with your kid and your pregnant wife, and then all of a sudden, all these diesel white guys just run up on you, and they're like, "Yo," and then you find out after that they're police.
Yeah.
Because from what they're saying here from his testimony, right, even with the car and all that type stuff, like as soon as they ran up on him and he was like, "Holy shit, I think I'm being robbed," he just drove off.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And like, and I'm not usually the one to like bring the race stuff up, but I don't like, if it was me sitting in that car, I don't know if they'd have handled it like that.
I don't think so, dog. I think they might
fuck with you. Like, listen, like living in Quebec and being English, like I deal with my fair share of stuff, but definitely like in places like Ontario, like I felt like the privilege before. And I really don't. I think they would have handled it a little bit differently. They would have been a little bit softer with it. You know, not for sure. You never know, but
it also depends on how you're dressed too, right? Because they're saying that they're investigating a stabbing in the area, right? And then that's who they decided to profile, his homie and his family.
Yeah. That he doesn't look like he's dressing like some gangbanger.
The downtown stabber. Come on.
Yeah. So what are the takeaways here for, let's say, the Toronto police chief, Kim, and also people watching this case closely and wondering what's going on here?
Well, I think there are a couple takeaways. Number one is the justice system is used to dealing with situations involving death, whether it be accidental or intentional homicide.
Anyhow, let's get off of this here.
We love hip hop.